Better get a chat clicked on here, huh?
Off seasons in college football are not what they used to be. Certainly, there's news to talk about almost every day across the land. So we will dive into it on the Nebraska side. You all know what we're talking about. We've got a number of items to run down, good, bad, and to be interpreted. So we will see. We got Greg Peterson, of course, here from Husker Online to help us break it all down. Leave those comments and questions in the live chat, and we will get to them. And, of course, the Super Chat's on as well. Please contribute to the channel. Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App are options as well. Greg, how's it going?
Oh, that was a squawker there. Doing good. How about you, Mark?
I am doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Everybody out there watching.
You've got,
thumbs up, like Alan always says, give us the thumbs up.
Absolutely. Give us the thumbs up. Bring some other folks in here with you as well. And we apologize for being a couple minutes late. Blame me. Blame me. Okay. Greg's got the Nebraska red on, but it's not the Nebraska red. I love this shirt. This is great.
All right. So we're supporting former Nebraska head coach Mike Riley here tonight. So we got the
All right.
The Jersey Generals we're representing here tonight. So how about that? A little USFL action.
Yes, folks. How many Generals can you name? We got Herschel Walker. We got Brian Sipe. Doug Flutie was a New Jersey General.
That's right. Yeah.
Those are the three that come to mind right out.
Lonzo Moore's the only one I can tell you right now, a former Husker on the current roster. But, yeah, how about that?
Very cool. All right, folks, we're going to dive right into it, and let's get to the news of the week. All right. So we know that Nebraska head coach Scott Frost received a 1-year show cause order, also a 5-day suspension. To be served during the championship segment of the college football calendar. That's basically, as I understand it, from the time they start camp in August, first day of camp, all the way through to the end of that particular season, whether that's the end of the regular season or bowl season for that particular team. Okay, violating NCAA rules regarding countable coaches. So there was an incident back in 2020. Special teams analyst Jonathan Rutledge, no longer with the team, was coaching Nebraska players during practices and film sessions, also helped with in-game coaching decisions. If you're not aware, folks, analysts cannot have direct interaction with the players. They're there to work the metrics, the game film, logistics like that. So there was direct interaction between Rutledge and players, and that violated NCAA rules. And again, Scott Frost is going to have to serve a 5-game suspension in which he's not going to be able to be with the team, interact with the team for those particular 5 days. They can be broken up, from what I understand. Yeah. And also, there's going to be a 5-game suspension. Not that these particular people are being punished or disciplined, but interns, assistants, not assistant coaches, but any support staff. There's going to be 5 days in which they will not be able to work their jobs as well during the coming season. So that's pretty much where we stand on that. There was a $10,000 fine involved as well.
Yeah, and we all know that they can afford to pay that fine. That's a slap on the wrist, basically.
Yep.
Everybody's got all these analysts now. I mean, teams have like 40 analysts nowadays. Some teams do. I mean, it's crazy. And Nebraska got caught. And yeah, that's the big thing is that they're not supposed to have contact on the field during practice or in film sessions. And, Nebraska reported themselves on this anyway. And, they're the ones who got caught. And I mean, it's just a little slap on the wrist, and it's not really a big deal. You lose 5 days during a pretty long season. So, and I'm sure that not having any contact with the team doesn't mean that Coach Frost isn't watching what's going on. I'm sure if they're going to go put him in a jail cell or whatever, I'm sure they pipe the practice video in wherever he's sitting right now. So, yeah, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, yeah, they brought Jeff Rutledge in. That's the problem with, Nebraska special teams have been in such a disarray for the last 4 or 5 years, and they brought Jonathan Rutledge in to try to fix things there, like on the down low, and you see how that worked. And Bill Bush was actually doing the same thing until they finally, put him into that role this year as special teams coordinator, which probably looking back on things, that should have happened a long time ago. So yeah, it's really not a very big deal. It is what it is. The NCAA is happy they got $10,000 out of the university.
So yeah, it's not a big deal. It's somewhat embarrassing. There's some cost there in terms of reputation or whatever, but yeah, it's not going to hurt. Yeah. Like you say, Scott Frost is going to be, of course, involved with and going to have all the resources involved that are going to come from those 5 days that he takes off. But he is going to have to separate himself from the team and, I don't know, sit on his deck and drink a cold beverage, I guess, for 5 days or whatever.
That's the harshest thing about the whole punishment in my mind, because how much time he spends there as it is. You can't make him go home. So yeah, it's going to be hard for him to sit out any kind of a time period of suspension. And when we look at it, it's like a 5-day vacation. Not for him. Definitely not for him.
So this is what I'm proposing here, Greg. This is what I'm thinking would be the best way to serve this suspension and that it has the least amount of damage. So think of it this way. This actually works out for Nebraska better than it would in a normal season, because the team's playing a week 0. They have 2 bye weeks.
Do it all in Ireland, actually. How about that?
What's that?
You should do it all in Ireland. Take it 5 days straight in Ireland. Boom, there you go.
Oh, this is what I would do. Is coming off the game before the bye. So you play on Saturday, take Sunday, Monday, and you got a full 2 weeks before almost 2 weeks before you're playing again. Take those days off right after the game, going into the 2 byes, and you take 2 or 3 days both of those times, and there you go. Because
I'm not sure if that would work out, though, because I'm assuming that those suspension days would have to be on days where the team is actually practicing and have actual functions going on. Because they're going to be, that's why that they have that 2 weeks in between, because they're going to get a rest after they've been on a long
trip
across the pond.
I tried.
Yeah.
So if there's anything there, folks, that you want to know concerning the issue with the NCAA, the violations there, but we pretty much laid out the basics. Those are the ground rules right there, and that's how it stands going into 2022. Shouldn't be a big hindrance toward working on, as Trev Albert said, hey, now we've got that behind us. We're focused on 2022. All right, next would be, there's a Texas Tech defensive lineman, Devin Drew. He's played in 20 games last 2 years and racked up 55 tackles. Seems to be a pretty solid player, and he's made his choice to come to Lincoln.
Well, that's the latest one, yeah. You're forgetting about O'Shawn Mathis.
I'm forgetting about the big one. I chose to go with Devin Drew.
Okay, we can talk about Devin Drew.
There's one.
No,
he's the latest.
Yeah, he's a guy that saw opportunity here, just like O'Shawn Mathis did. Coach Shenander and the whole defensive coaching staff did a great job on these guys, and I think this all bounced back. I think we got to start first. After last week, we talking about Casey Rogers leaving the program, going into the transfer portal. And then you lose another reserve defensive lineman as well. And so it was kind of set up for this in my mind. So O'Shawn Mathis makes it official, chooses Nebraska over Texas. And then Devin Drew jumps on board too. So you're replacing 2 defensive linemen that hardly played many snaps here at all, with no very, very little experience, if anything. And you're adding two guys that with a combined 8 years of experience. When you start with Devin Drew, he spent his first 2 years of college at Iowa Western, right across the river from Omaha here. Great JUCO program, one of the best in the country, and then went over to Texas Tech and has played a lot of football at Texas Tech. So you're bringing in a guy that's game ready right now, who's played a lot of football. Same goes with O'Shawn Mathis, and you bring in these guys are all coming in to rush the passer. That's what they're here for, and you're starting to build a pretty good rotation of guys. With what you've already got here existing and what they've recruited with at that position, and Garrett Nelson's obviously going to be the leader there, but and then Caleb Tanner as well is going to be doing the same thing. So it's going to be very interesting to see when these guys all get here on campus.
Yeah, it's exciting. Concerning what the weakness with the team was last year. So they had 20 sacks as a team last year. Only Northwestern and Indiana had less sacks than Nebraska last year. So they want to improve on that. O'Shawn Mathis had as many as 8 a couple years ago. He's obviously the big fish, but the most recent, again, Devin Drew out of the Big 12 as well in Texas Tech, where he played 20 games, 55 tackles. O'Shawn Mathis, 3 consecutive years, second team all Big 12. He can get after the passer. I know with your work on Husker Online and everything that you guys did over there in reporting and talking to O'Shawn Mathis. So was there anything that stood out to you in terms of him matching up Texas and Nebraska and saying this is what turned the trick for the Huskers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back. I watched it. I was loving it. I saw Moonbot was there taking part, watching that thing live as well. I tried to throw in a question there right at the end, but I think it was too late, Sean. Only it took one more question. But, yeah, I think a lot of it just had to do with opportunity here is what it came down to. And, he mentioned how close he kind of kept things to the vest. Right down to the wire before he was going to make his decision and everything. But I think once he was here, when he was here for the spring game weekend, I think he kind of had made his mind up. Then that's just my opinion. And he saw how much that he the opportunities here for him are not just financially, but just perfecting his craft even more and getting a great chance to go up on to the next level. So the thing that sticks out about me is just such a well-spoken young man. I mean, for a guy that's a scary-looking dude, I told Sean before they were going on live, I go, hey, don't do anything to piss him off, man. He's a pretty scary-looking guy. I was I was shocked and wowed by how personable O'Shawn is, and very intelligent and well spoken guy. And I think he's going to fit right in here, and he's going to be a guy that's going to help them out at a big time position of need. And I think it was really fun to just kind of get to know him without being there in person.
Greg, this is certainly something that as soon as NIL hit the scene last July, you right out of the gate said Nebraska is going to be a player in this. They're going to get serious about this. They're already thinking about it. They're already putting things together. This is going to be no joke. They're going to be a player.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's no, I mean, we're here. Everything's changed for good. Well, for now, it's basically pay to play. He, like we're just talking about, he just committed 3 days ago. And we've already had him on our airwaves, and he wasn't doing that for free. So yeah, the money's already coming in. So it's a new age right now, and that's how easy. I mean, we've talked about it before that it's so hard on the coaches, but you kind of look at it as it's hey, we lost 2 guys, but we replaced them with 2 guys that have a heck of a lot more experience and quite frankly are better players. So that's how quickly it can turn around in this day and age with NIL and the transfer portal combined. That yeah, you get a chance to get guys that maybe you wouldn't have had a chance to get in years past. It's not the same old time where kids commit to a coach. I mean, I think the young kids are still going to commit to coaches for the most part, except for the really high ranked guys that'll look at the opportunity, the financial opportunities. But obviously, in the transfer portal with these guys, they have they look around and see what kind of better situations they have out there than their current situation. So yeah, it's just the beginning until some sanctions come down from the NCAA and some rules get in place here.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west right now. We were talking on our Iowa show, and I'm a simple man, and there are a lot smarter people out there, but I've thought of a few basic things that could be put in place based on what rules are already there in terms of one-time transfer, one thing, no tampering. So if people would get serious about that, meaning, I guess, the NCAA, or if the conference commissioners, if they want to bypass the NCAA and say this is a weak, dysfunctional organization, we want to get a commissioner and a council of sorts in place. I think the 5 major commissioners should get together and say, what do we do about all this? Let's rein this in.
Well, I mean, also though, on the plus side, for if you're a school like Nebraska, where there are good NIL opportunities here, obviously, which makes Nebraska competitive with some of those other schools that have been a lot more productive lately. But look at what they've landed in the transfer portal already. That basically is plug and play guys. Your starting quarterback's either going to be a Texas transfer or a Florida State transfer. One of your top running backs has already emerged as well. He's a JUCO guy, but your top receiver that you're thinking is going to be is Trey Palmer, a transfer from LSU, and then maybe your top defensive back, your top corner, Tommy Hill, another transfer from Arizona State. We haven't even talked about Isaiah Garcia Casanda very often either. He's got some high expectations coming in from New Mexico. So, yeah, they've added a lot in this portal. And then, obviously the last 2 guys that we just were mentioning as well. So it's kind of cool. It's like, you're reloading, you lost a bunch of free agents, but you signed a bunch that you're a lot happier with.
Mike's here. Appreciate you being here, and everybody else that's participating. We got about 100 on the line. Get on out there and grab some more folks that love Nebraska football or college football in general, and bring them on in to talk Huskers. So Mike is asking about, so Lamar Goodes is a original Florida commit and signee back in 2019, who's been a defensive tackle from Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. Anyway, and he is going JUCO right now. So Lamar Goodes is out there in the transfer portal for the past month.
Yeah, he was supposed to visit here. He was supposed to visit Lincoln here on May 12th.
Okay.
He has a visit scheduled for May 12th. So they would definitely take him if they needed to. So
then I believe
that's where we're at right now with that. I mean, this was basically it was a guy that they were bringing in too before they got Drew, before they just landed Drew. So you think they would be over the limit right now, but they can always move guys around too. But I still think they would take him if the opportunity was there.
Then we also have Mike is alluding to, I believe, Stephon Wynn. He's a defensive lineman from Alabama, and he went into the portal on April 20th. So he's still looking for a home.
Yeah, it's something that we're all watching really closely right now. He's played quite a bit of football. Well, I mean, for an Alabama guy, he's had a few snaps in there, around 180 snaps or something like that at Alabama. So, I'm not too familiar with any more, about his actual game than than what anybody can tell you already. That's not an Alabama guy.
Yeah, that can't be all bad.
I mean, right now you're just adding bodies, and I don't know. Maybe they're done after getting Drew. They might be done. We don't know right now. I guess you wait and see, and something always seems to happen in the summer or right there at the beginning of fall camp time. You never know. So I know this though, that they've been throwing out tons and tons of offers today to 2024 recruits on the defensive side right now. Every time I look at Twitter, there's somebody new saying, I just got an offer from Nebraska right now. So Coach Shenander and his guys are working it hard right as we speak.
Is there anybody in particular that you've seen that quite a bit about, that you've scouted, that you've
I haven't.
gone
No,
out and shot?
I'm just looking at names coming across that. Yeah, most of these guys are all out of state guys. All of them are all out of state guys, and from all over. I see Alabama. I haven't looked much into them yet. I mean, this is all kind of dropping down here in the last hour, so.
I gotcha.
Yeah, they've just been falling fast and furious. Where's this guy? Receiver. Oh, there's a receiver. I didn't say where he's from. I don't know. I don't really have time to go check out all these guys' Twitter accounts to see who they are. So, but just know they're doing a bunch of work recruiting right now, as usual.
Who are the guys that have yet to commit in the 23 or 24 class around the area there that you've got your eye on? Anybody in state?
Coming up in this class, not really any of the. And they've gotten pretty much all the top guys besides Malachi Coleman and Benny Ngoy, two guys that have offers, both wide receivers that I think they'll probably land right now. But Malachi Coleman's a guy that he's been blowing up on the whole national recruiting scene like crazy because he is that kind of crazy good talent. One of the best that's come out of obviously my alma mater, Lincoln East, but Lincoln in general. But yeah, he would definitely be the number one guy that they're after. And then, they were the first offer, and they've been, it's not very hard for him to visit. I don't know how many times he's already been here. He probably has more times than he can count on both his fingers and his toes combined. So, yeah, but he's enjoying it right now, getting offers from all the big boys out there, and obviously a big-time national recruit he's turned into. And I mentioned Benny Ngoy as well, and he's another very talented wide receiver / corner that I think could really be good on the defensive side of the ball as well. And Nebraska's obviously was one of the first there to offer as well for him. And like I said, I think Nebraska's got a great shot to land both of these guys, and they're very, very good friends, even though they go to competing high schools here in Lincoln.
Stephen, good to see you here. Stephen Costello asks, I agree to whatever I was saying, I guess. Mark, Greg, how much does the NCAA have to do with rules enforcement in your opinion? Well, They have a lot to do with it. They're the only ones who investigate and hand down, look at this situation with Nebraska today or this week. That was the NCAA investigating that situation. They probably got, who knows where they got their information. I'm not going to speculate on where they got the information, but then they investigated it. We're talking about something that happened in 2020. So they took their time to get it done, make sure they had their ducks in a row and figured out what, and is, well, Greg, you said that, I'm sorry, you said that Nebraska self-reported that situation.
They might not have. I thought they
Okay.
did, but I mean, this is nothing. This is nothing new. I mean, we knew that it went down a long time ago. When was it last? What did they say?
Sometime in 2020.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been out there for a long time, and it cost Coach Frost a couple of embarrassing days of having to answer questions about it already.
Yeah.
So, but no, all those rules are the NCAA's rules.
Yeah. So Stephen, to your question, the NCAA, despite them losing some power in their talk constantly about people slamming the NCAA, me included, they're still the enforcement agency. They're still investigating these things and handing down the penalties, and you can still see their authority. They handed down penalties for Nebraska, and Nebraska's going to follow through with them. Now, in terms of NIL and reining that in and doing something with that, I wouldn't count on the NCAA there. I don't know. It's only been in place for like 9 months, so
I think it's all regulated by the states too. So I mean,
yeah,
I think it takes a lot of that out of the NCAA's hands until they can come up with some kind of better way. I don't know. But that's a legal thing. I mean, that's a state government type deal. So, yeah.
I would think that the conference commissioners would get together and say, okay, this is a runaway train. It's never going to be the same, but we can do a few things. We can do a few things, though. We can still hold people accountable. We can, again, I'll go back to, there's a lot of talk out there about tampering. We can get a handle on that to a certain extent. And it's just like speeding. You're not going to catch everyone, but you can at least make it tough enough that if somebody gets caught, you do more than slap them on the wrist. You just hammer them to the wall, that it deters or at least restricts it to a certain extent. And then the other thing is the one-time transfer rule. Enforce that. At least do those two things to get a start on it.
Yeah, I mean, right there. I don't know what that was. That right there, I think, is the most common sense. That makes the most common sense to me. Is that put a limit on it. You get one time to do this, so make it good. But yeah, I mean, and I think that the NCAA is capable of making that rule. But yeah, I think that's why you've heard a lot of talk too about a lot of conferences or schools talking about leaving the NCAA, forming their own entity, and taking the NCAA out of all of this. So, who knows what's going to happen? The only thing I can tell you right now is that college football is not the same. It's never going to be the same as it used to be, in my opinion.
No, it's not. No, it's not. All right.
But it won't stop us from watching it and going to the games, though, will it?
Well, that remains to be seen, but my guess is you're right. It's not going to, because people complain about all sorts. They complain about the price of concert tickets, but they still go. They complain about how much Major League Baseball players make, but they still go. Pick your sport, pick your entertainment. People in America love their entertainment. That doesn't mean that TV ratings don't slide a little bit, because some people get annoyed by whether it be political messages or other things going on or the money involved or whatever. So some people will say, see, I'm going to be on my boat on the weekends now. But by and large, yeah, People still love football, so they're going to show up.
How come I haven't been invited to your boat on the weekends?
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing here on college football weekends.
I want to thank everybody for noticing my fresh new haircut, by the way, as well.
Absolutely, they did. Yes, tons of compliments.
My boss asked me the other day what the hell I was up to, so I figured I better cut it before we went on live here tonight. So
looking good. Looking dapper, as somebody said in the live chat. Yes. I was thrown back by the red shirt. That red shirt just pops. So I wanted to know what was going on there. And it turned out to be the New Jersey Generals. That's cool.
I'm going to get a couple more, too, I think, of the USFL teams. Our colleague here, our coworker here at Husker Online, Robin Washut, who's our basketball expert and, one of the main football writers, he prides himself in getting all those startup league shirts. He's got all kinds of them from 3 or 4 different leagues now. So I'm just trying to play catch up with him. This is my first one. So
yeah, Jim is citing what's become now the second recruiting rankings is the transfer portal rankings. And apparently Nebraska's number 1 in the Big Ten.
That's good. It's so hard to rate that too. With I don't know. I guess now it's a little bit easier, but when we were talking about that here, the last 2 or 3 months, it's been so fluid that it was kind of hard to rank that. But yeah, I'm not surprised they're number 1 in the Big Ten at least. I know there's some other schools that have made all kinds of other wholesale changes, a lot more than Nebraska has as well. But that's cool. They needed it. I mean, you need something different, right? I mean, what's been going on here in the past hasn't quite done it so far. So, and the influx of talent, like we've been talking about, I like a lot the talent that they've added here on both sides of the ball now.
Well, I got to say, nobody in the Big Ten's picked up a starting quarterback or a starting quarterback
and a wide receiver
at the level of Casey Thompson.
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I can't think of anybody that's picked up an O'Shawn Mathis, offensive lineman. And
a former 5-star number 1 pick or number 1 recruit in the country.
Talking Trey Palmer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because you're also in a pretty conservative division. Iowa's not doing anything in the transfer portal. Wisconsin, I'd have to look for sure, but I don't think they're doing much of anything. Nothing that really stands out to me. And I go and look at the transfer portal list at least once a day just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So I think Nebraska's done more than any team in the Big Ten, and I don't even think it's that close.
I think that's out of necessity as well. So yeah, it's good to see that they were. I mean, because there was a time there when remember we were back a few months ago. We were wondering when they were going to start adding guys.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it all came fast and furious after the Casey Thompson announcement. So it was pretty cool.
Okay, so we've got Jason there asking about the first half of the schedule. So the first half of the schedule, of course, starts with Northwestern on the road. Really, really on the road.
Ooh, I like that.
Out in Ireland on August 27th. Then after the week off. Oh, there's not a week off. It's North Dakota right after that. Okay, so come back for North Dakota. It's Georgia Southern. It's Oklahoma at home. So 3 consecutive home games after Northwestern. A bye week, and then Indiana and at Rutgers. The most important game to me is
Dublin.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, the best team that they're playing is Oklahoma. That's not even close. But that's not the most important game. It's not a Big Ten game.
We think
the most important game is Northwestern. win the first game, yes, it's a Big Ten game.
And who knows what Oklahoma's going to be like with all the changes made there too. So win that first game, and then you got a pretty good shot to win at least 2 out of the next 3. So especially when you get Oklahoma at home. So I like it. I like the way it sets up, and that's what they need. They need to get some wins under their belt, get a winning feeling going on there, feel like know what it feels like to win. Because there's a lot of guys on this roster that haven't been able to get that feeling very often. But that first game definitely that sets the tone for the rest of the year. That's the one you got to start 1-0 out there, and you play an opponent that historically that's a toss up. I don't care how the two teams stack up going into that game. That's pretty much always a tight game. Thrown away last year, of course, when Nebraska blew their doors off. But we'll see. We'll see.
If Nebraska's 4-2 after 6 games, I'm going to say that's not good enough. They should be better than that. If they're 5-1, I'm going to say they're about where they should be. That's a really good start. 5-1 is a great start, but the schedule's backloaded, and I would assume that if they're 5-1, they lost to Oklahoma. But I think this may sound crazy. I think they've got a chance to be 6-0. They can win all those games. Now, Oklahoma, again, as we sit here right now, appears to be a better team, but not by that much.
Yeah. I think it's hard to say who would be favored in any of these games right now. You got to kind of see what the product looks like before they start playing them. So,
Greg, why don't we do this? We'll have a little fun. Let's have a little fun with what you just said. I'm going to guess the point spread of the first 6 games today, and we'll save that, and we'll see how it shakes out. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna work on this during the show. You gotta give me a second here, and I'll in the next 10 minutes let you know what this point spread's going to be for the first 6 games. I'll just take a shot here. All right, so David says, I'd like to say hello to my mom and dad in Arizona who are huge Nebraska fans. She just joined the platform last week. Much love. Hi, Mom. Hi, Pops.
Enjoying
Good
that.
To see you. Thanks for being here.
Arizona weather.
Yeah.
That's why they moved away from Nebraska, I'm sure.
All right. What else do we have, folks?
Moonbot's right. We do got dogs now.
Yeah, so I know that the line for the first game has been announced. I haven't seen it, but Mike says it's 10.5. So he kind of spoiled my exercise there a little bit. But I won't even say what I was going to guess because I don't know. I think I would have guessed something in that range.
I'm sure Cheryl can find. She's got to be able to find some Husker watch bars around. There's a lot of Husker fans down in Arizona too. So if you need to,
Cheryl.
If you need to find some Husker watch sites, just go to Husker Online. We actually have a list of those compiled state by state on there. So if you want to go meet other Husker fans on game day in your area, you can always find them right there on our website.
All right. Zizach. Did I get that right? I guess. Zizach. Zizach. I've never seen that handle before. Zizach, we appreciate you being here. If you're a first timer, welcome. Even if you're not a first timer, welcome. Appreciate everybody being here. Zizach, you included. And everybody get on out there and grab some more folks and bring them on in next Tuesday at 6 Central. Okay. Zizach says, why are we not addressing the offensive line in the portal?
Because they already did earlier. Yeah, they brought in the transfer from Oklahoma State, and then they brought in Kevin Williams as well from northern Colorado, so a native Nebraska guy. So they brought in some bodies, and got some freshmen and guys coming off injury. So uh, yeah, they've been done bringing in offensive linemen for a few months now. So plenty,
Bebo
plenty,
same
plenty
same
of bodies, plenty of bodies there. Yeah.
So, Greg, I hear this all the time, whether it's about Nebraska or Texas, and I actually had somebody even ask me this today and send me an article. I won't call it a news article, so I'm not going to let you know the site because it wasn't the best article in the world. I read it and thought, this guy who wrote this is practically illiterate. It wasn't a well crafted article, but that's not the point. You hear this all the time. So is Nebraska back?
I don't know. Are they? We say that every year, right about this
I
point,
think we
right?
say this every week.
Yeah, every
Somebody
week.
brings it up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we hope so. Only time will tell. Got to play the games first. But like we keep mentioning, I like the talent that they brought in and the amount of experience that they brought in. You know, like you said, I hadn't even mentioned bringing in a starting offensive tackle from Oklahoma State as well. That brings in a lot of experience. So I think that's what you need. Again, we got to go back to that term plug and play. That's what they're doing now, and we've seen basketball teams operate like that for years and years and be successful doing it. And that's something I think Nebraska has never been really high on under any of their coaches is going the JUCO route and now the transfer portal route. But I think you've been forced to do it, and we've seen a lot that Nebraska's fizzled out with some of their kids that have come in here and committed with really high expectations and guys with high accolades that just haven't fit in and end up either leaving or being busts. So I think you're forced right now to kind of operate that way until things change right now.
Nebraska had its most players selected in the NFL draft going back to 2016 with 3 selections, the first 2 coming in the second round with Cam Jurgens going to Philadelphia and Cam Taylor-Britt to Cincinnati. And then later in the draft in the 7th round, the Green Bay Packers selected Samori Toure. What are your thoughts about Jurgens, Taylor-Britt, and Toure?
Well, my first thought that I was shocked that JoJo Domann didn't get drafted. Well, it was hard to watch on Saturday with JoJo Domann sitting up there on the top of Mel Kiper's best available list for about 3 hours. But no surprises there. All with Cam Jurgens or Cam Taylor-Britt, both deserve it. Cam Jurgens chose to leave early here, and he was one of the best athletes coming out of the state here he was the best athlete coming out of the state in his recruiting class. And, he was a Rivals 100 kid. And he was a tight end and H-back in high school. And when he got here, Coach Frost said, "Hey, man, you got a long career ahead of you in the NFL if you switch to center." And so there you go. The rest is history. And he was – if you listen to pre-draft and after the combine and everything, his name was brought up a lot by all the Mel Kipers of the world and Todd McShay's of the world. And, yeah, he's got himself a great opportunity, and very, very happy for him. And same goes with Cam Taylor-Britt. I've said it a lot of times that when I first saw him play, I just thought, man, this guy's a football player. A guy that played quarterback in high school in Alabama and came here. Coach Frost recruited him here. And since day one, he has been just one of the most dynamite guys that you could ever have around on the team. And very charismatic guy. And like I said, one hell of a football player. He's a ball hawk. He's got great ball skills, and I think he's a steal where he went in the draft. In my opinion, I think both of them as well. And I was a little disappointed how long it took for Samori Toure to get drafted too. But you know what? That's beautiful. He steps into a situation where he's got Aaron Rodgers now throwing. He goes from Adrian Martinez throwing him the ball to Aaron Rodgers. So I think he's stepped up a little bit in class. So that's great, man. I think he's got a great shot to play a lot of football as a rookie here in Green Bay this year.
And then we've got you mentioned undrafted free agents. So let's see. We've got the list is. Let me get it here. As you mentioned, of course, JoJo Domann signed a contract with the Indianapolis Colts. Austin Allen with the Giants. You also have Damian Daniels with the Houston Texans. Deontay Williams with the Seattle Seahawks, and Ben Stilley with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and those are all the guys that you thought were going to either get drafted or sign free agent contracts. So all in all, it was a really good year. Compared to the stats that Nebraska's been throwing into the NFL here in the last few years for a team that's usually been pretty rich and providing a lot of talent to the NFL. But I think you see, excuse me, I think you see, obviously you see the uptick in talent that Coach Frost has been recruiting here. And, he continues to do that. And as long as the guys that he recruits come in and fit the culture and buy into the system and everything, that they can do well and they can play at the next level. Because you got a lot of guys here that you can learn from, a lot of coaches with a lot of NFL playing experience on this coaching staff. So that's another thing that's intriguing to young guys. When you're recruiting them, and you can say, hey, man, I played here and I played there, and come play for me. I'll teach you how to get to the league. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it besides, the NIL and everything else. So I really like what they've done. Now they just have to make it work on the field. Put it all together, and I think with the changes they've made with the coaching staff and the whole new attitude, I think we're going to see a different type of a team come out, in Dublin, Ireland, when they take on Northwestern.
Folks out there that run businesses, or if you've got contact with somebody who owns a business, you can expose that business to new clients, new customers, all sorts of business opportunities by sponsoring here at the Voice of College Football Nebraska. So support Nebraska football and also get your business in front of other clientele and other customers and so forth. We do about, I'll roll all the numbers out there for you if you contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, but about 50 or 60,000 views per month on the channel and growing. So give me a call or write me there at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Contact me and we'll work something out and get you front and center here on our big show with Greg each and every Tuesday. All right. I don't see anything else in the chat. I think we've pretty much covered ground, except for one other note is that I was kind of curious that DeAndre Jackson, the Texas A&M running back, who, of course, never took a snap, never played with the team. I don't even know if he went to class, suddenly just announced on social media that kind of, I'm out of here, and didn't have a whole lot to say except thanks for supporting me, and that's that.
Well, he was finishing up classes there.
Okay.
That's the reason why he didn't make it to Nebraska. I got you. The semester change. He couldn't get out of there. So he had some classes to finish up. And to me, that sounds like he finished those classes up because it was no surprise that he's leaving there, obviously. So, you hope he still makes it. The plan is that he still comes here and he's here this summer. So, and enrolls. Because he tried to enroll. He couldn't get out of Texas A&M quick enough. So. Those darn classes of schoolwork, it gets in the way of football sometimes. Mark, didn't you know?
Absolutely, it does. I don't know what we're doing here, but making these guys go to class. But that's
See,
the
when I
deal.
went to college, they didn't care if I went to class or not. So, as long as the checks always cleared, they didn't care if you went or not. So.
No, they don't. Not for the two of us. Yeah.
No.
And most of us. Yeah. Just so the check's cleared. But yeah, some of those head football coaches are a little bit more sticklers for that. And I understand this is where it all started, all this football business. They actually, started by going to class first, and then they decided we're going to start playing football on the side.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you might have put it up real quick earlier, but
Yep.
I was mentioning that Sam was mentioning an article that Tom Chattel had wrote from the Ohio World Herald that I think is kind of interesting too. That he said basically that transfer portal should be free or could be free for freshmen and seniors, but not for sophomores and juniors. Otherwise, you got to sit out a year. I think that's kind of an interesting idea right there.
So a player, of course, makes his commitment. He signs, he enrolls, he's starting in a university. Make him acknowledge and follow through with that first commitment, at least for 1 year to stay in school. And then he's got his next 2 years, or if there's a redshirt involved, maybe 3 years he's got to transfer in there. And then also the senior year.
Senior year.
Okay. I like
so you can transfer after your freshman year or after your junior year.
Yeah.
Without a penalty sitting out. I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
I think it's an interesting thought too, and I think it would be good for the game, but I don't know how you can justify not allowing people to move.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's hard. And I don't know. I know Tom pretty well, and I don't know. He might have been at the bar when he wrote that story. I'm not sure. But,
Nice.
If you're listening, Tom, I'm just kidding.
Beautiful. All right, John's got a super chat coming in. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for that, John. And again, we would love to get a sponsor here and highlight your business here at the Voice of College Football. So hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. So super chat says, Mark, Greg, what would you take on the over-under? Nebraska gets 35 sacks this year.
Oh boy. I got to go under on that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, until
that's a big increase.
Yeah, and that's a lot of sacks for a college team, really. It'd be great to see. I mean, that's the kind of defense you expect that you used to grow up with, watching the Black Shirts play. It'd be great to see. But going from 20 to 35, I think is a pretty big leap.
Yeah.
But, it's doable. I think obviously it's doable, especially with some of the caliber guys that we mentioned that you've brought in, and obviously Garrett Nelson's taken over as the leader there as that rush in, and Caleb Tanner is going to be doing the same thing, and so then I love the inside guys with Chris Hickman and Luke Reimer. Those guys are super solid too. And then you throw in the guys that they've recruited, like a Blaze Gunnarsson that they recruited especially for that type of position. That now he's an up and comer and ready to go, and another newcomer that they brought in as a transfer as well. There's a lot of guys there that I think that have really good opportunities to create a lot of sacks this year. So. It's going to be really interesting to see, and especially if those inside guys can stay healthy. Obviously, you talk about Ty Robinson, who's going to be your anchor inside, and you really hope that everything you hear coming out of spring about Nash Hutmacher it comes true, because this guy is the strongest guy on the team. He might be one of the strongest guys in the country. I think we've joked before that he could bench press a Volkswagen Bug. So yeah, you hope that those guys live up to. I mean, we know the caliber of player Ty Robinson is already. Just like we said, if he can stay healthy, I think you got some pretty good looking guys there now. So it's going to be fun to watch and see what kind of production they can get. I think you're going to see maybe a little bit more of an attacking style of a defense just with the type of guys that they have on there right now, which um, we'll see if that works a little bit better or what have you. Coming up here. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that Coach Senander, he knows how to adapt. He's done that each year here. He has adapted. He's changed, and each year you've seen his defenses get steadily better and better. So I wouldn't expect that trend to change anytime soon either.
So to put that 35 in perspective, again, Nebraska had 20 sacks last year, so that's almost doubling that sack total. Now, we would hope that Nebraska is going to play an extra game, 13 games with the bowl game. Michigan State led the Big Ten in sacks last year with 38, and Ohio State had 35. So Nebraska would have been tied for second in the Big Ten in sacks with 35. So that's a lot of sacks. That's a tremendous.
And look how many of those guys get drafted off of that Ohio State defense every year too. So usually more than Nebraska here in recent years.
All right, folks, we appreciate you being here. Again, the checklist is get on back here next week and bring some folks with you. We appreciate over 100 on the line talking Nebraska football. For whatever you missed, as soon as the video posts, which should take about 10 to 15 minutes, go back and watch what you missed. And again, we'll be back here at 6 Central next Tuesday. Come on back, bring some folks with you. And again, if you've got a business and would like to sponsor, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. All right, Greg, I think we've done enough damage.
Sure.
All right.
If you say so.
Appreciate you doing this. As always, you make this thing work. You're the man. Thanks, Greg.
You betcha.
We'll see everybody back next week. Have a good week.